Hey everybody, welcome to your Vinyasa practice. If you have yoga blocks at home, it might be helpful to have them in place of yoga blocks. Hardback books of equal shape and size usually work pretty well. And you can also fold up a blanket or a towel to make this kind of a shape. So we're going to start out seated. We're going to work pretty deeply into knees, ankles, and hips today, as well as lengthening quadricep muscles and hamstrings. So that's the top of the thigh and the bottom of the thigh. Hips are always involved in that kind of thing. Before we head there, let's make sure our shoulders are nice and warm. So when we're in weight-bearing postures like downward facing dog and upward facing dog and high plank, we have nice alignment and a nice structure to our shoulders. So you can see I'm just stretching my arms out wide. I am turning my thumbs up and down and making just a very gentle fist. And I'm just rotating. All I'm really doing is rotating the shoulder head and the socket. I'm trying to keep my wrists, elbows up in line with my shoulders as I rotate. That's my dog Bella in the background. If you can hear her, it is getting close to dinner time. Let's take a couple more breaths here. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Good. And then we're going to sweep those arms all the way up and overhead. You're going to take a hold of your right wrist with your left hand. You're holding onto your right wrist with your left hand. And you're reaching your body off to the left side. Try to stay grounded in your right hip. And so you're starting to hopefully feel a little bit of a lateral flexion in the spine. Breath in, big breath out. Come back up towards the ceiling and reach each side. So now your right hand will hold your left wrist. You'll pull up and then off to the side. So I want to emphasize the pulling up first, find that elongation of the spine, and then move off into your lateral flexion. Try to stay rooted into your left hip. The chest is nice and open. Arms are nice and straight. Maybe there's a little bend in the elbows. That's totally fine, but you're working towards straight one day. Take one more breath here. Shoulders are starting to burn. Mind with you. So now we're going to take our hands, interlace them to the webbing, and flip those palms up towards the ceiling. Deep breath in here. Big breath out. Let's take two more slow breaths. One more big breath in. And another breath out. We'll sweep those hands forward so our palms are facing in front of the body. Round your upper back, tuck your chin into your chest. Deep breath in here. Deep breath out. We're going to move in and out of this dynamically 2 more times. So inhale, arms up to the ceiling. Keep that interlace of the hands. Exhale, palms forward, round that upper back. One more time like that. Deep breath in. Breath out. Now let's release those arms, roll out those shoulders a couple times. And then one last thing here, seated, we'll sweep those arms high and we're going to rotate towards our right hip. So you're rotating towards your right hip. Your right fingertips are behind you like a little kickstand. And again, here too, you're thinking about elongation of the spine before you're rotating. So big breath in, get really nice and tall through the top of your head, and then rotate a little bit further. Maybe you look back behind you. Take a deep breath in. And a deep breath out. One more breath here. Let's unwind those arms and you're just simply going to switch sides. So now you're rotating your chest towards your left hip. Your left fingertips are behind you like a little kickstand. Find that nice tall spine first. Reach up through the top of the head and then maybe you add some more rotation. Let's take 2 slow breaths. One more deep breath in. And on your breath out, start to unwind. We're going to come into tabletop shape, move through a few sun salutations, and then we'll work on
that hip, knee, ankle mobility and all the muscles that surround them. All right, so before we move through our sun salutations, a couple rounds of cat-cow. So hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Inhale, lift the heart, lift the tailbone. Exhale, press the floor away, tuck the chin in, tuck the tailbone under. 5 more rounds like that on your own. So with your breath, find that back bend. And as you're exhaling, pressing the floor away, tuck the chin, tuck the tailbone. 4 more times on your own. Make sure that breath is guiding your movement. One more time, find that back bend. And then exhale, round out. Let's come back to a neutral spine, tucking those toes under. If they're not there already, walk those hands forward, one whole handprint. Spread the fingers wide, root down through the palm of the hand. And then let's come up into downward facing dog. In our downward facing dog, start to pedal out through the feet, bend the knees right and left. Try to relax your head. So you're trying to press your chest back towards your upper thighs while keeping your hips nice and high towards the ceiling. Sometimes it's helpful to lift up onto the ball mounds of the feet and bend the knees to achieve that, especially if the hamstrings are tight. Also, glutes being tight can inhibit that, and spinal elongation can also inhibit that. So like tight muscles around your back body. Let's take 2 more breaths here. So next inhale breath, lift up onto those heels, bend your knees a little bit, begin to walk your way forward to the top of your mat. If you do have blocks at home in your practice, you can place your hands on blocks. This will just help make your arms a little bit longer here in your first forward fold. Grab those opposite elbows, relax your head, let it hang heavy. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Now we're going to bring the fingertips to the shins. Inhale, lengthen the heart forward. You're coming into this halfway lift. I want you to think about using the integrity of the muscles around the back and the core. So shoulders are at least as high as the hips. You have a nice straight, flat back. Exhale back into your forward fold. And then inhale, we'll come all the way up to standing. Arms reach forward and up towards the ceiling. Exhale, relax your arms down alongside the body. We're just pausing here to reset, and we're going to start to flow a little bit more with our breath. So that doesn't mean we're moving quickly. It means our breath, so our inhale is dictating when we're moving. Sometimes our exhale will be when we'll pause, but sometimes our exhale will also be a movement. So Vinyasa flow, we're usually moving with our breath. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling, halfway lift. Exhaling, hands plant. You're stepping into your high plank and pause in your high plank. I just want you to think about the integrity of this shape. We did that little shoulder warm up, so hopefully you're feeling the muscles around the shoulder come online. And same thing with the hands. You're pressing the floor away, so arms are straight and strong. You're shifting that body weight forward to the tippy toes, engaging the quadricep muscles a lot. Even think about pressing the thigh bones to the ceiling above you. So hamstrings to the ceiling above you. Now let's lower down to the belly, knees first. Come all the way to the belly. First round here is dynamic cobra. We're going to come in and out of this 3 times. Come to the tops of your feet. Squeeze your elbows into your rib cage. Press down through your hands. Inhale, press the floor away. Lift the head and the heart. Exhaling, lower back to the mat. Forehead touches. 2 more times, just like that. Inhale, press the floor away. Chin and chest lift. Exhale back to the mat. Forehead touches. 1 more time. Big breath in. And a breath out. Come down to the mat. Tuck your toes under. Engage your quadricep muscles so much your kneecaps lift. So you're getting really tight through the legs and the core. Tucking your tailbone under. Deep breath in. Exhale, press up high plank. Lift those hips, downward facing dog. Let's take 3 slow breaths here. In through the nose, out through the nose. In through the nose, out through the nose. One more breath, just like that. Lift those heels. Begin to look forward. You can step, hop, or float up to the top of your mat. When you get there, inhale, halfway lift. Exhale back into your fold. Inhale, sweep your arms forward. Come all the way up to standing. Reach up. Exhale, relax your arms alongside the body. Pause here, reset. 2 more rounds of Surya Namaskar A. We're going to do a little bit more fluidly now. And we're going to move through Chaturanga to upward facing dog. And if you don't have that in your practice, you do what we just did. You bring your knees to the floor and you come into low cobra. Okay, big breath in, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands plant, high plank. Right away, you're shifting forward to those tippy toes, moving through Chaturanga. Coming up to your upward facing dog if you have it. Exhale, lift those hips high, downward facing dog. And then pause. 3 breaths. In through the nose. Out through the nose. 2 more times, just like that. Lift those heels high, bend those knees, look forward, make your way to the top of your mat. When you get there, inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep your arms forward, come all the way up to standing. Exhale, relax your arms alongside your body. Last round of Surya Namaskar A. We'll add in some lunges and things for the lower body. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, folding. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, high plank. Shift forward, lowering through Chaturanga with or without the knees. And then coming into your back bend, low cobra or upward facing dog. You're exhaling all the way back into your downward facing dog. 3 breaths. Try to maintain that breath in and out through the nose. And if you can't, like if your breathing is too labored, take your knees to the mats and the hips to the heels and find that child's pose. Breath is such a great teacher to tell us when to take a break. All right, so we're going to inhale and sweep that right leg up and back. Exhale, step your right foot forward. Come down into a low lunge. Okay, so left knee is going to come to the mat. And then just sit up here for a moment. So lift up through your torso so you're in this low lunge with your left knee down the mat. Pretty straightforward, simple low lunge at first, right? So typically we talk about stacking our right knee on top of our right ankle and making this anatomical structure. I want you to throw that out the window today. What I'm looking for is the hamstring of that right leg to rest on that right calf. So your knee is going to go beyond your toes and you're coming into this deep, deep ankle flexion. Okay. And then fingertips can come down to the floor, kind of frame that foot out. Now I want you to focus, once you've got that going on, now like your right hamstring, it might not be all the way in contact with your calf, but you're just going in that direction, right? So you're really deeply bending that front knee. Now with the back leg, let's tuck those back toes under, lift the back knee up, wiggle that left leg back, 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 until you have a nice long back left leg and you probably feel a little stretch across the front of the thigh. Then set the left knee down. Okay, so you're trying to maintain her right heel on the ground and then lift your torso up. Big breath in here. Hands can just rest on that right thigh if you can balance there. If you want to, though, you can also take, again, if you're using blocks at home, hands to blocks. I like to use them on the highest setting here so that I have a nice tall spine. Open through the chest. I'm breathing nice and normal. And I'm going to see if I can just get a little bit lower into to my right heel bone a little bit heavier and see if I can sink into this sensation across the front of the left hip flexor for 2 more breaths. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Let's take 1 more breath here. Try to relax your shoulders down your back, nice and tall through the spine. Good. And then let's shift those hips back over the left knee. Lengthen out through your right leg. You're coming into a half split. Flex your right toes towards your face. I want you to now look for a little bit of sensation in the back of the right leg. So maybe it's the hamstring, maybe it's the back of the knee, maybe it's the calf, the Achilles tendon. It could be all of those places at once. So notice where you're feeling sensation right now. Deep breath in. Try not to round through your back. Try to keep your spine nice and long as you breathe out. Let's take 2 more breaths here. Rebend into that right knee. Start to bring that right knee forward over your right toes and find that really, really deep low lunge here. Take 1 more breath in this position. Good. And then let's bring those hands down to the floor or our blocks. We're going to tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. Hop that back foot forward 1 footprint so that you can spin that left heel flat and have about a 45-degree angle in that foot. I'm straightening out through both legs. And now I'm going to take a deep breath in, get long through the spine, and breath out, fold over your right leg. So again, we're looking for that sensation in the back of the right leg. Relax your head here. Try to maintain equal weight distribution through both your back foot and your front foot. Let's take 1 more breath here. All right, crawl the hands forward. Step back into high plank. Shift forward to your tippy toes. Move through that chaturanga to your upward facing dog or your low cobra. And then make your way back to your downward facing dog. Take 3 breaths. So hopefully when you revisit shapes like downward facing dog over and over again, they start to feel more and more accessible to your body as time goes on. And if the energy level is just really low today, remember child's pose is always there for you. It's always okay to take the knees to the mat. Send those hips back to the heels and get the breathing to regulate. Let's take 1 more breath in our down dog. We'll move on to that whole little series on our second side. So inhale, left leg up and back. Exhale, left foot forward, top of the mat. Just set that right knee down, come up into this, however your stance is in your low lunge regularly without fixing it first, and just kind of notice where you land with your legs. Okay, if that we're on the left side now. Left knee is stacking on top of that left ankle. Let's see if we can get a little bit deeper into that. So try to move the hips forward and down, deep, deep flexion in that left knee. Sometimes I will walk my heel bone back a little bit so I can get my left hamstring closer to my left calf. But the key here is try to keep that heel bone in contact with the floor. Okay, once that's in an attainable position, like you can sustain this and breathe without any sharp shooting pain or numbness in the knee, stay there. Let's tuck those back toes, lift that back knee, wiggle that leg back, feel a stretch across that right thigh, and then set the knee down. All right, so we're really getting long through that back leg, and we're really deeply bending into the front knee leg. Let's see if we can find this sustainable shape where we're sitting up nice and tall through our spine. So maybe hands are coming to a prop alongside the hips. And this is where that hardback book, that set of hardback books might come in really handy. You can also, if you don't have that or those props at home, you can also rest your hands on top of your left thigh. But do try to get nice and tall through your spine while simultaneously sinking into your hips for 2 more breaths. We are going somewhere with this work. I promise it's coming. Good. Now we're going to shift our hips back to that half split pose. So we'll start to move the body weight back over into that right knee. Lengthen out through the left leg. Flex your left toes towards your face. My body always has this tendency to rotate off to the right side when I come into half split on the left. So just check out what your body's doing. Like you have two headlights on your hips. They're pointing straight forward. Let's take nice, long, slow belly breaths here. 2 more rounds of that. Nice and tall through the spine, nice and long through the back. All right, we're going to start to rebend into that left knee. We'll take one more pass at this Anjaneyasana. This is a really classical variation of Anjaneyasana. Like if you are familiar with Ashtanga, Mysore, Primary Series, any of that, you will see Anjaneyasana often performed in this way. All right, so hands, fingertips down to the top of your mat. Tuck your back toes, lift your back knee. Step that foot forward 1 footprint so you can get that right heel in contact with the mat. Then you're lengthening out through both legs. Coming into pyramid pose. So upper body's leaning forward over your left shin. Your head's getting heavy and relaxed. Your hands are here for balance on either side of your front foot. Try to maintain that equal pressure through both your back foot and your front foot. Let's take 3 belly breaths here. Roll those hands forward, rebend into that left knee. Make your way back to your high plank and move through your Vinyasa through Chaturanga, upward facing dog, or low cobra, and then all the way back to down dog or child's pose. 3 breaths. So that variation of Anjaneyasana or low lunge is really good for ankle mobility, especially if you struggle with that in your Malasana squats. So I recommend integrating that into your daily life if you can, if you think of it, if you remember. You can always come back here and revisit me in this video, and I will happily walk you through it over and over again. Okay, one more time. Let's inhale, sweep that right leg up and back. Exhale, right foot steps forward, left knee to the mat. We're coming into our splits. Okay. Before you go, oh my God, this is crazy. I can't believe we're doing the splits. You are starting to prepare your body for it. And most of us who can sit on the ground with our legs stretched out in front of us, you're already halfway into your splits in this position. This is what the front leg is doing in your split. So that's why it's so important to do that little exercise we did with our back leg in our low lunge, because people often get stuck with that quadricep muscle and hip flexor being way too tight. And so that can be helpful to free those hips and allow you to sink a little bit lower into your split. All right, let's start with that right foot forward. You're probably already there. So again, you're beginning in your lunge. Your left knee is on the mat. Again, these blocks or these books, whatever you have around you, are helpful as props and splits. And so when you're sliding your right leg forward, it's not always graceful, especially when I'm doing it. You're looking to extend that right leg out long. So taking the bend out of the right knee. It's okay to keep it a little bit bent though. Now, if you're starting to feel like, okay, I'm getting kind of close to the floor with that right hip and hamstring, but I need a little bit of support there, slide your book or your block underneath that right hip flexor or your right hamstring. Now your back leg, here's where we often get stuck, right? We were just talking about this. Wants to do all kinds of crazy things, like the knee wants to pop out to the side and the leg can't get straight because of this range of motion being limited in our hip flexor and hamstring. And I'm right there with you. So this is where I'm going to stay today. So you're kind of just working your way there slowly over time. And guess what? The body has muscle memory. So the more consistently you do this, like you revisit it for a few moments each day, the closer you will come to the full split. Let's take one more breath. And then we'll check out how the other side is, because typically one side is more sticky than the other. To get out of this, I usually just bend my front knee leg and then come back into this really awkward, unattractive looking pigeon. And then I come back to my downward facing dog. Emergency exits are totally okay when you're getting out of your splits. Sometimes it's just easier to roll the body weight forward to that front hip. Let's inhale, left leg high. Exhale, step the left foot forward, right knee to the mat. You're in that low lunge. Have your props close by. Let's start to wiggle that left leg forward some. So you're in that half split first. That's always where we're going to start with that. I'm sure there's other more creative ways to come into that. And then when you start to feel like, so I will wiggle my left leg forward and then my right leg back. And then I'll start to feel like, oh, okay, that left hamstring and glutes kind of getting close to the floor. Now me, because I'm limited by my hip flexor and quadricep muscles of my back leg, I'm going to keep my back toes tucked, my right knee bent, and I'm trying to square my hips forward and down. Remember those little headlights? We're kind of working on that here. So that block comes underneath that front leg hip, and I'm just making an effort to sit up nice and tall. There's all kinds of variations in split. You know, you can forward fold over that front leg too, but this is where we're starting with it today. And we'll revisit this too over time. Different ways to come in and out and different ways to prepare. Let's take one more breath here. All right. So let's make our awkward way out of this. You can come back to that downward facing dog or child's pose. If you are really craving one more Vinyasa flow, chaturanga up dog, down dog, feel free to take it. When you get back to your down dog or your child's pose, take 3 slow breaths. And then let's come to our knees, our hands and knees. We'll turn around and lay down on our backs. Hug those knees into the chest. Give yourself a nice big old hug. This is your child's pose upside down. Apanasana. Apana is one of the vayus. It's significant of the direction of wind. So downward motion, wind, this shape in particular, really good for elimination of waste because you're compressing ascending and descending colon. You know, that common myth where everyone farts in their yoga class? Not uncommon for that to happen here. Let's come into a twist. It's okay. Nobody else can hear you. I can't hear you. Knees off to the left, your right hip stacking on top. Try to stay grounded through your right shoulder. Big breath in through your nose here. Big breath out. 2 more breaths. And then we'll come back through center. Adjust those hips, spine, everything back to the center of your mat. And then off to your right side. So you're rolling onto your right hip. Your left leg is stacked on top. Stay grounded through your left shoulder. Deep, slow belly breaths. All right, let's unwind. Any other final movement, shape shifting you want to make in your body, feel free to take it. I always like to pick up my feet, stretch my feet up towards that ceiling and give my legs a little wiggle. Such a good thing to do for the nervous system. And it's good to be silly once in a while, isn't it? especially as adults. We take ourselves so seriously. All right. You want to take happy baby, take a couple breaths there. And then we'll lengthen out and find our Savasana when you're ready. No rush with that. I always guide 1 minute of Shavasana at least, but I always recommend 5 minutes if you have it. Set yourself a little timer. It's so important to give yourself rest. Relax those shoulders down the back. Slightly tilt your chin in towards your chest. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Out through your mouth. Just imagine yourself letting it all go, letting it all rest. And to reawaken your fingertips and your toes, deepen your breath. Move your head side to side. On an inhale, stretch your arms overhead. On an exhale, we'll roll off to a side and then come to an upright seat, and we'll close out our practice in a seated position. I always recommend sitting on a prop so that your spine can grow tall with ease. Eventually, your knees can relax below the hips. And this is a very nice anatomical position for your spine to be in. So you're sitting up nice and tall, shoulders over hips, ears over shoulders. Hands resting on your lap, elbows soft alongside your body. Maybe the eyes are still closed. Deep breath in here, grow tall. Breath out, settle. 2 more breaths, just like that. One last time. Joining the hands together at the heart and bowing the chin into the chest. With reverence and gratitude for our practice, to all of our teachers, past, present, future, to the teacher within your own heart. Namaste, yogis.